What if I told you that the single greatest threat to your motorcycle's life isn't a pothole, a patch of gravel, or even a distracted driver? What if I told you the most destructive force your engine will ever face is you? It's not your fault. No one ever tells you this. We're taught how to use the clutch, how to lean into a turn, but nobody ever explains the silent, invisible war being waged inside your engine every time you ride. It's a war fought with microscopic metal shavings, corrosive acids, and brutal shock waves of force. And the scary part is, it's the tiny, seemingly harmless habits you repeat every single day that are slowly, methodically assassinating your engine from the inside out. But today, that ends. We are on a mission to empower every rider with the knowledge to protect their machine, save thousands of dollars in catastrophic repairs, and ensure their bike runs like a dream for tens of thousands of miles to come. If that sounds good to you, do us a huge favor right now and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Joining our community is the first step to becoming a smarter, more confident rider, and it ensures you never miss a video that could save you a fortune. Now, let's pull back the curtain and expose the 10 riding habits that are a ticking time bomb for your engine, and exactly how to defuse them for good. First up, the habit almost every single one of us is guilty of: the deceptively innocent short trip. You just need to run to the corner store, a 2-minute ride. Or maybe you're just taking a quick spin around the block to keep the battery charged. It feels responsible, right? Wrong. In fact, you're giving your engine a slow-acting poison. Here's the science. Your motorcycle's engine is a finely tuned furnace designed to operate at a very specific, very high temperature. It's at this operating temperature that the engine oil thins out to the perfect viscosity, allowing it to flow like lifeblood into every tiny crevice, lubricating, cleaning, and protecting. When you only ride for a few minutes, your engine never reaches this critical temperature. The oil stays thick and sluggish. But worse, one of the byproducts of combustion is water vapor. In a hot engine, this vapor is harmlessly expelled through the exhaust. But in a cold engine, it condenses into liquid water inside your crankcase. This water then mixes with your oil and other combustion byproducts to form a disgusting, corrosive sludge. It's an acidic, milky cocktail that eats away at bearings, clogs vital oil passages, and turns your pristine engine internals into a grimy mess. Every short trip adds another layer to this internal damage. The solution is simple but crucial. At least once a week, commit to a real ride. Take your bike out for a solid 30 to 45 minutes on the highway or some open roads. Get it fully warmed up and let it stay there. This is your engine's reset button, allowing it to sweat out all those toxins and burn off the harmful moisture, keeping it clean, healthy, and ready for the long haul. Next, a sin committed in the first 60 seconds of a ride: revving a cold engine. We all love the sound. You fire up your bike on a cool morning, and before you even put your helmet on, you give the throttle a few satisfying twists. That glorious, sharp roar feels like you're waking up the beast. But what you hear as a roar of power, your engine experiences as a scream of agony. When your bike sits overnight, gravity does its work. Nearly all of the engine oil drains down into the oil pan at the bottom of the engine. The metal on metal surfaces, your pistons against the cylinder walls, your camshafts on their bearings, are left with only a microscopic residual film of oil. They are essentially dry. When you start the engine, the oil pump begins the critical job of circulating that cold, thick oil back up to where it's needed. This takes time. By immediately revving the engine to high RPMs, you are forcing those unprotected metal parts to grind against each other at incredible speeds. It's the equivalent of taking two pieces of sandpaper and rubbing them together as hard and fast as you can. Mechanics agree that a huge percentage of an engine's total lifetime wear happens in these first few moments after a cold start. You're literally scratching and scoring the heart of your machine before you even leave your driveway. The fix is painfully easy. Patience, start your bike, and just let it idle. Don't walk away for 15 minutes. That's another problem we'll get to. Just give it 60 to 90 seconds. That's all it takes for the oil to make its journey and provide a protective cushion. Then, for the first 5 to 10 minutes of your ride, be gentle. Keep the RPMs low and the throttle inputs smooth. Let the entire engine and transmission come up to temperature together. This simple act of mechanical empathy will add years to your engine's life. Habit number 3 is one you might not even know you're doing. Lugging the engine. Picture this. You're cruising along in 4th or 5th gear, and the traffic ahead slows down. Instead of downshifting, you just let the RPMs drop, way down. Then, when traffic clears, you roll on the throttle hard, and the bike protests. It shudders, vibrates, and makes a deep, grumbling noise as it struggles to pick up speed. That is lugging. You are asking your engine to do a heavy lifter's job at a sprinter's RPM. When you apply a heavy throttle load at an engine speed that's too low for the gear you're in, you create immense, destructive pressure on the most critical components. The force of the combustion slams down on the piston, which then transfers that shockwave directly to the connecting rod and the crankshaft bearings. It's like hitting your engine's rotating assembly with a hammer with every single power stroke. This low-frequency vibration doesn't just feel bad. It's actively working to loosen fasteners, accelerate bearing wear, and put tremendous strain on your entire drivetrain. The rule of thumb is this: your engine should pull smoothly and sound happy. If it's grumbling, vibrating, or chugging, you're in too high of a gear. Listen to your bike. It's telling you it needs help. Downshift to a lower gear. Let the RPMs rise into the bike's natural power band and feel the difference. It will accelerate smoothly, sound better, and you'll be saving its most expensive internal parts from a slow and brutal death. Let's talk about the tachometer's danger zone, the red line. Every manufacturer puts it there for a reason. It is the absolute maximum rotational speed your engine's components are designed to withstand. Some riders, however, treat it less like a warning and more like a target. Now, briefly kissing the red line on a fully warmed-up, well-maintained engine isn't an instant death sentence. The real, catastrophic damage comes from living there, bouncing off the rev limiter constantly, or worse, hitting those high RPMs when the engine is cold. Here's the horror story happening inside. At extreme RPMs, your valve train is moving at a mind-boggling speed. The valve springs are responsible for snapping the valves shut perfectly in time. When you over-rev, these springs can't keep up. This is called valve float, where the valve literally stays open for a fraction of a second too long. In the ED best-case scenario, this just causes a loss of power. In the worst case, and it happens, the rising piston will smash into that still open valve. It's a catastrophic internal handshake that instantly ends your engine's career, resulting in a bent valve, a damaged piston, and a repair bill that could easily cost more than the bike is worth. Even if you avoid that dramatic failure, constantly redlining your bike accelerates wear on everything. The crank bearings, the rod bearings, the piston rings, and the cylinder walls are all subjected to forces and heat they were not meant to endure long-term. Respect the red line. Use the power band your bike was designed for. A smooth, controlled ride is the sign of an expert, and it's the key to keeping your engine healthy and powerful for years. Next, a habit that feels incredible, but can be incredibly destructive. Aggressive downshifting without rev matching. You're approaching a corner, you snap the clutch in, kick it down a gear or two, and dump the clutch out. The rear wheel chirps, and the engine screams as it's violently forced to match the new, higher speed. It feels and sounds like something a MotoGP rider would do. But without the proper technique, you're sending a shockwave of destruction through your entire motorcycle. When you downshift, the engine's speed needs to match the wheel speed for the new, lower gear. If you just let the clutch out, the momentum of the rear wheel forces the engine to instantly spin up to thousands of RPMs higher than it was a second before. This is a violent, uncontrolled over-rev. This shock load puts immense stress on the valve train, risking valve float. It slams the clutch plates together, causing accelerated and uneven wear. It yanks on your timing chain, causing it to stretch over time. And it puts a massive strain on your transmission gears. The solution is a technique that separates good riders from great ones: rev matching or blipping the throttle. As you pull the clutch in to downshift, give the throttle a quick, gentle blip. This momentarily raises the engine RPMs. With practice, you'll learn to perfectly match the engine speed to what it will be in the lower gear. When you then release the clutch, the transition is butter smooth. There's no lurch, no tire chirp, and most importantly, no destructive shockwave. It's a skill that not only saves your engine and transmission, but also makes you a safer, more stable rider. For all the city commuters, this one is for you. Riding the clutch in traffic. You're in slow, stop-and-go traffic. Instead of being fully in gear or fully in neutral, you find that friction zone, the point where the clutch is halfway engaged, and you use it to creep forward. It feels like a convenient way to manage slow speeds, but you are secretly cooking your clutch and contaminating your engine's oil. When you hold the clutch in the friction zone, the clutch plates are slipping against each other under pressure. This slipping action generates an immense amount of heat. Over time, this extreme heat glazes the clutch plates, making them hard and smooth, which causes them to lose their ability to grip. This leads to clutch slip, where the engine revs up, but the bike doesn't accelerate properly. But it gets worse. On the vast majority of motorcycles with a wet clutch, the clutch assembly shares the same oil as the engine and transmission. As you burn up your clutch plates by riding them, all that fine, abrasive clutch material gets released directly into your engine oil. This contaminated oil is then pumped throughout your entire engine, where it acts like liquid sandpaper, accelerating wear on every bearing and moving part. You're trading a little convenience in traffic for the long-term health of your entire powertrain. The better way? Be decisive with your clutch. Either have it all the way in or all the way out. Use your rear brake to help control slow-speed maneuvers and try to create space so you can move in first gear with the clutch fully engaged, rather than constantly feathering it. Let's talk about a move straight out of an action movie. Hard launches and popping the clutch. You've seen it. A rider revs their engine to the moon, then sidesteps the clutch lever. The bike either launches forward with a squeal of tortured rubber or rears up into a dramatic, often uncontrolled wheelie. While it might look cool for a split second, it is one of the most mechanically violent things you can possibly do to your motorcycle. When you dump the clutch at high RPMs, you are unleashing a tidal wave of torque on your drivetrain in an instant. The clutch plates, instead of engaging smoothly, slam together with enough force to warp them, crack them, or glaze them in a single event. But the damage doesn't stop there. That shockwave travels down the line. It can stretch your drive chain, crack or shear teeth off your sprockets, And in the most severe cases, the immense torsional force can actually put stress on your transmission output shaft and even the crankshaft itself. Furthermore, during a hard wheelie, the oil in your engine's sump sloshes to the back, which can momentarily starve the oil pickup of fluid. This means for a critical second, your engine could be running with no oil pressure, causing severe damage to your bearings. If you want a quick start, learn to be smooth. Feed the clutch out progressively while simultaneously rolling on the throttle. A smooth, controlled launch is not only infinitely better for your bike, but it's also much faster and safer than a violent, traction-shattering clutch dump. Here's a small, lazy habit with big consequences. Sitting in gear at a red light. You pull up to a stoplight. Instead of shifting into neutral and relaxing, you just keep the bike in first gear and hold the clutch lever in for the entire light cycle. It seems harmless. After all, the clutch is disengaged, right? While it's true the plates are separated, you are putting unnecessary, prolonged wear on other critical clutch components. When you hold the clutch lever in, the force is being held by the clutch springs and the throwout bearing. The throwout bearing, in particular, is not designed for continuous load. It's meant for the brief moments of shifting gears. Holding it under pressure for minutes at a time, at every single stoplight, every single day, dramatically shortens its lifespan. When it fails, you'll have to tear into the clutch assembly to replace it. Beyond the wear and tear, there's a safety issue. If your hand slips, or if you get bumped from behind, the bike will lurch forward unexpectedly, potentially into cross traffic or the car in front of you. The best practice is simple and requires almost no effort. If you're going to be stopped for more than 10 to 15 seconds, click the bike into neutral. Let the clutch out. Give your hand a rest, and give your throwout bearing the break it deserves. It's a tiny change in habit that adds up to a longer-lasting clutch and a safer ride. Number 9 is a hot topic, literally. Letting your bike idle for too long. The old-school belief was to let a bike warm up for 10 or 15 minutes before riding. With modern motorcycles, this is not only unnecessary, but it's also harmful. Your motorcycle's engine, whether it's air-cooled or liquid-cooled, is designed to be cooled by one thing above all else: airflow. When you let your bike sit there and idle indefinitely, there is no airflow over the radiator or the engine's cooling fins. The engine temperature begins to climb and climb and climb. On a liquid-cooled bike, you'll hear the radiator fan kick on, which is a sign the bike is already struggling to manage its heat. On an air-cooled bike, there is no fan to save you. The heat just builds. This excessive heat does terrible things. It thins out your engine oil, drastically reducing its ability to lubricate and protect. It can cause fuel to vaporize in the fuel lines or carburetor, leading to stalling and poor performance. In extreme cases, it can lead to localized overheating of the cylinder head, which can warp components and damage gaskets. The proper way to warm up a modern bike is to ride it. Start the engine. Let it idle for about a minute to get the oil circulating, then ride away gently. The gentle load of riding combined with the moving air will bring the engine up to its optimal temperature far more efficiently and safely than letting it sit still and cook in its own heat. Finally, the most critical habit of all is not a riding habit, but a mindset. Ignoring your engine's warning signs. Engines almost never fail silently. They cry out for help, but too many riders either don't know the language or choose to ignore it. Pushing a bike when it's clearly telling you something is wrong is the fastest way to turn a minor, cheap fix into a catastrophic, wallet-destroying failure. You need to become a master of mechanical empathy, constantly listening to and feeling what your bike is telling you. If your temperature gauge is creeping into the red, that's a scream for help. If you smell the sweet, syrupy scent of hot coolant or the acrid smell of burning oil, That's a smoke signal of a serious problem. If you hear new, strange sounds, a ticking, a knocking, or a grinding, that's your engine telling you its internal parts are in distress. If you feel intense, unusual heat radiating onto your legs, the engine is overheating. Continuing to ride in any of these conditions is a gamble you will eventually lose. When an engine overheats, metal expands. A piston can swell and seize inside the cylinder, scoring the walls. A cylinder head can warp. Gaskets will fail. Oil will break down into useless sludge. The moment you see, smell, or hear any of these warning signs, your ride is over. Pull over immediately in a safe location. Shut off the engine. Let it cool down completely. Investigate the problem. Check your oil level. Check your coolant level. Ignoring the problem won't make it go away. It will only make it exponentially more expensive. So there you have it. At the end of the day, a motorcycle is a machine that begs to be ridden, but it's a partnership. You provide the skill and the care, and it provides the thrill and the freedom. It's not about being a perfect rider, it's about being a smart, conscious one. Avoid those tempting cold engine revs. Downshift to keep the engine in its happy place. Master a smooth clutch hand. And always listen to what your machine is telling you. These small, daily adjustments are the difference between an engine that gives up the ghost at 20,000 miles and one that's still pulling strong at 100,000. It's the secret to a long, happy, and affordable life with your two-wheeled companion. We want to know, which of these habits are you guilty of, or have you worked to overcome? Share your story in the comments below. There's no judgment here, only learning. Thanks for watching. Ride smart, ride safe, and we'll see you on the road.